how things have been progressing within the dramas of these species that seek to own us and keep the slavery system going. How have you been viewing the what way to say it, de-enslavement of these groups and the Nazi SSP, and how they're handling the change that is on their horizon, that different factions are delaying?
The Germans are resisting losing cyborgs. Their cultural mentality is that those are just machines, because the amount of actual brain tissue has been reduced in every generation of them. So it's down to the bare minimum to maintain enough consciousness to run the equipment. But at the same time, they're also, that is up against a galactic law that you can't have robots, because there's a galactic law that prevents artificial intelligence being in a independent body. And that's to stop the spread of black goo and related nanobot artificial intelligences. The history of the artificial intelligences have been that they come onto a planet and they present themselves as healthcare or making your life better, and that they actually do that for 100 to 150 years, and then they become their masters, and 500 years down the road, they're eliminating all organic life on that world. And the galaxy has said, we are not going to allow this to happen. Any world that is taken over by AI will be sterilized. So they're not going to allow it to spread. And that's part of the problem that's been going on, is the Germans have been pushing black goo, which is an AI. And so they're looking at, they have to give up the AI, they have to give up their cyborg slaves, they have to give up the actual slaves who are running the mines, and use their own people and pay them. And their people have gotten kind of spoiled. Most of them don't do any manual labor anymore. Most of the ground thumpers in Nachtwaffen are from Earth, and the SSP people are de facto slaves. I mean, we're taken as children. We aren't given a chance to have informed consent. I was 4 when I was taken for this. So, and I was an embryo when they modified my DNA. How does an embryo give consent? How does a 4-year-old sign for consent whenever in 1959 the age of consent was 21? You know, you're looking at all of this was based on complete illegality. And these are basically, you're kidnapping little kids and torturing them to create altars. Those are capital offenses, at least in the United States. I mean, a lot of other places don't have capital offenses anymore. But this is why the SSP is kept secret, is because it's based on criminal activity. And then you get into space and there's more criminal activity. It's like, well, we're not subject to Earth anymore. We don't care. We're going to do what we want. And then they find out, well, gee, there is a galactic police department, and they have a strong enough military that even the Draco submit to them. So they're batting their head against the wall, and they're beginning to realize it. When they lost the world and could only rescue half the colonists, they're beginning to realize that they really have a problem.
Which world was this again?
It was one of the early colonies that was farther out in the rim, toward the rim. All of the German colonies are in the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy, and we started with Earth and headed out. So we overlap the Draco Empire, but many of the colonies are outside of the Empire now. And there's even, I believe it's 3 colonies that are no longer in the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah. And I'm not sure what the Galactic Authority is going to do about them.
I was gonna just ask you that if you've heard about the mission to Andromeda, because I get tracking back evidence that they went and they're still established there, and currently, if it's like they're not making too much waves, because if they did, they would just be wiped out. And they don't want to push their envelope, is what I'm getting. So not too much heads are popping up from that.
Well, if they behave, there won't be a reason to do anything to them.
Exactly. Yeah, so the cleaning
I know
up
there's one in Andromeda, and there's one in Alpha Centauri, and
have you heard of the hotel in Alpha Centauri?
What?
My friend told me something about like they have some type of resort or hotel or something in Alpha Centauri.
Well, if they have a colony, I'm sure they have entertainments.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they have a resort on Mars where the rich people from Earth are taken, and it's manned by people in Monarch. So, but Monarch and Kruger are the 2 mercenary companies, and Monarch also specializes in sexual entertainment of whatever perversion you're interested in. So,
what kind of treaties have you heard about having to do with our species and those factions, positive, negative, and neutral, with like the Nazi SSP?
Well, when America lost the Battle of Operation High Jump, they were given a treaty by the Germans in Antarctica. And it involved 150,000 Americans would be supplied to the Germans every year to serve in their military. And the CIA decided to modify that by genetically modifying all the Americans they sent. So if you're an American and you served in Nachtwaffen, you can count on that your DNA has been modified with Draco. This was to make it so the Germans would find you unacceptable to live in their colonies. The CIA's excuse was that it made it where we could live among the Draco without keeling over dead.
Really?
Well, basic humans do. They can be in a room with a Draco and the Draco is not doing a damn thing wrong, and they'll keel over dead because they're simply not hardwired to be in that kind of energy. I mean, people think they're demonic, but they're really a very high energy being. And basic humans are simply not hardwired to be around them. It fries the circuits.
Yeah, it's quite dramatic. They have quite the aura and attachment and things as if it's just normal, and it's like a whole nother environment that they have moving with them. It's quite, yeah. I know what you mean.
My unit on Mars, when I was a fighter pilot, we were a unit of women pilots, and our commander was a German man, and his boss was an Alpha Drac. And the Alpha Drac would show up and talk to us because we were all from the United States. We were all modified and we could be around him without dying. Our commander had to leave. So yeah, that got interesting. You know, how can you be the boss of a unit if you can't listen to your boss, be in the same room with them for longer than a half hour? But they had to have a German in charge.
Oh, I see.
It's anger over how World War II ended. They don't trust the Americans at all. So, and I can't blame them after the CIA shooting us all up with Dracos so that they couldn't keep any of us. They wanted to give us the option of becoming colonists and just staying with them, because they knew they didn't have enough genetic diversity to maintain that many colonies without expanding it. And they learned right away when they got into space that all humans from Earth have more in common than any of us do with the ETs. So a lot of their racial issues that they had as Nazis, they outgrew that years ago.
Have you heard anything new with New Schwabenland? That's been
Neuschwabenland has a small population there. The majority of it moved to a new city on Mars, Neu Berlin. And the capital of Das Bundes was moved to New Berlin. So
that makes sense.
They moved there under Draco protection, and the places where that they had sublet from the Draco were not really suitable. So they declared war on the native raptors and the native mantids and took where they wanted, and then fought for the next 40 years. So the war was over in the Northern Hemisphere in 1990, and that was when people like me were shipped out. There's still a war going on in the Southern Hemisphere, but that's with the Americans, not us. Sorry. I still have alters active in Nachtwaffen, so I think of them as us. I have alters active in Kruger, but I don't have as much bleed over, so I don't know what they're doing. The one that I had a lot of bleed over, actually her contract got bought by Nachtwaffen. So I got moved. And Kruger trains their people differently. So if you are in Kruger, do not transfer to Nachtwaffen because they will never think you're good enough. My commanding officer on that altar, he said in a fight he would never have anybody but me at his back. But that on the bridge, I was a mess. So, difficult assessment. The way Kruger trains their people, they're basically street kids that know their job. Where Nachtwaffen trains them to be officers, educated. They know music, they know literature, they know history. A lot of things that Americans wouldn't think were even necessary to know. All of their people are trained in all of that. You may not be good at it, but you've been taught. So it's a completely different philosophy of how your people are.
How's their psionic specialists divisions?
I don't know. I wasn't in it.
You seem like you are.
Navigation is a psionic ability, but it's considered to be a bridge officer. And I was an interface between Draco and German. But that also wasn't considered to be the Psi Corps. So I don't know what their Psi Corps does. I know what the intuitive empaths in Solar Warden do because we've had complaints about them. Solar Warden will stop ships in transit anywhere in the solar system, board them, bring them on board ship, and vivisect them while the intuitive empath is interrogating them telepathically. That's what their job is. And we've had lots of complaints about people used loosely. People being a sentient, reasonable extraterrestrial who is in the solar system with permission from one of the factions. Okay? These are people who are authorized to be here. And Solar Warden just picks them up and starts vivisecting them. Because they're at war with the Germans. That's how they see it. You're helping the Germans, you're trading with the Germans, therefore we can attack you. And the Germans get complaints about it on an ongoing and regular basis. So anybody who is saying they were an intuitive empath, this is what their job description is. At least from the perspective of the ETs who deal with them.
What do you think about the meeting concept in? There's something. Sorry. I've been getting this buzzing in my ear the entire time you're talking. Like, well, anyway, but
I'm sorry.
no, it's funny.
I have that here most of the time, and I haven't had it while we've been talking.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
So I guess they decided to give you the attention instead of me.
Well, I'm sure you get a lot of
Sorry.
attention. No, it's okay. It's not a negative. It's like, oh hey. Uh, anyway, it's just a little distracting. Um, I'm trying to do an interview. Sorry. Um, what has your role been in bringing a lot of this war to peace? That you're okay with talking about, because it's like ultimate goals of our species getting past all these blockages that keep them from becoming one with the rest of the galaxy. If you don't mind.
My ultimate goal, as it was presented to me by the Guardians, apparently they think I'm one of their agents. But my goal is to get humanity to give up pecking order slavery, demand justice of those who have been in charge for so long, and if I fail at that, to make sure some humans did survive the justice that will be applied. Reseed the next round.
What was your interaction on Mars like?
With who?
The main base there that you remember.
I was a kid in school until I was 19, and then I was part of a women's fighter pilot group, and most of the time I was in a ship, a plane. It looked like an F-15, but it had plasma engines instead of jets. And I had a chip behind my left ear that hooked me into the ship's computer. So I was basically one with the machine. And I had two major job assignments. One was to find raptor nests and take them out if they were small, or call in help if they were bigger. The second one was ghoul duty, which was to find any human remains and bring them back to base to be regenerated. Yeah,
That's a cool.
that's what I did. And once in a while, I would be ordered to capture a mantid for intel. And I usually failed at that. I'd usually end up following it into a cave and getting eaten by a spider and waking up in the regeneration tank. So yeah, as a human, I have a fear of spiders. I've been dinner too many times.
Yeah, they're not exactly. I'm trying not to insult them. They do.
They are an alien intelligence, yes.
Yeah. They have a much different system of interaction with people, and depending on which species you're interacting with. I have had many contacts, like these giant telepathic spiders, like underground, like versions of many different types, and I track them back, and a lot of them interact through our DNA, as we're a library to a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And they use unentangled observer technology of the species on the surface, and will like influence them to interact with people as like a link, and then sometimes in dreams. And I have many violent interactions, but then I usually bring them to peace. Usually figuring out why that was initiated in the first place, and it usually be something that I forgot, based on the world we're in. But spider piece, hopefully more so in the future, um, and also with Mars's. Interesting that you bring up the Raptors. I also have had interactions with them and many bases here as well. I have been trying to bring peace with every faction that I've been coming across, as well as the ones that are not wanting to do that, and then them doing really negative things. But yeah, what kind of interaction have you had with the different types of raptors?
I was at war with them on Mars. I spent 15 years destroying them. That was my job.
How is experiencing their psionics? Because they're like quite. So I've come across some really powerful predator dynamics that they have going on, and like ways to out chess move a person. It's quite interesting in shutting down a person's abilities and then stealing them to like use against them. Anyway, go ahead.
I didn't have that experience, probably because I was chipped into the computer. That would have automatically given me some protection. Plus, I'm pretty sure that my protection that I have here and now is probably also applied to me there, because I experience all of these things in a linear fashion. I'm here, I'm taken for this trip, I come back, and then I'm here again. So it's not like I'm bouncing back and forth on a regular basis. It's, I've actually done this, come back, gone a while, taken again, come back, taken again, come back. So I've got like this one line with all these bubbles off it. That's what I got the whiteboard for. Was because people assume that you're zigzagging between them, and you're not. And it's not different timelines, it's a time loop in the same timeline. You're actually, for that period of time, you're actually bilocated.
So yeah, the bilocation visitation. Yeah, I like that.
Yes, it's bilocation. It's not a separate timeline. And I
That's
found
most
that
the ones I see as well.
the Nachtwaffen prefers they take you in your own body, where, and their healing technology only works if you're in your own body. Because if you're in a clone, it will kick the consciousness out and you'll get the clone's mind. Yeah, that's why Nachtwaffen uses your real body that you were born in. They just re-age it all the time. So then the mercenary companies, I have alters in here, and they use your clone body. So when you reach a certain point of you're in bad shape, or they don't want to fix what's wrong with you, they'll kill the clone. Your consciousness returns to your natural body, and within 36 hours, they come and get it again and pop it into a new clone. The altar that I talked about that was in Kruger and then Nachtwaffen, that happened to her twice. The first time she was killed, well, she was flying a fighter plane in an attack and got hit, and they pulled her out of, they used some sort of portal and pulled her out and into the med bay, but her glass screen had broken, shattered, and she was so cut up that it was almost like her skin had all been cut off. And so they just put her out of her misery. It was easier to replace the entire clone than it was to fix that one. They go through a tremendous number of clone bodies that way. But while you're in that clone with your consciousness, they've got your physical body in stasis. And as soon as they kill that clone, that your consciousness comes back to your physical body. That's how they know the clone's been killed. But because they're using your same DNA, you still have a telepathic connection with that clone body. It gets wild. It really does, because people think that the clone is mindless and soulless and just a shell, and it's not. That's why the factions that use clone bodies only do a 20 and back, is because they have retarded the growth of the mind, and when you're in it, you are possessing another person. And their retarding process lasts about 20 years. So at the end of that process, the natural person in that clone pushes you out.
That makes sense.
So they only keep them for 20 years, because after that, they lose it anyway. And you end up back in your natural body. Now, if for some reason your natural body is gone, if they're paying attention, they show up with a magnetic bottle and trap your soul as it's leaving. And yes, they have that technology too.
Do you use forms of meditation to connect to your bilocations and what they're doing?
I use shamanic trance to connect with my bilocations and see what they're doing. Sometimes it's not even intentional on my part. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm there. There have been times that I was in charge of that body. And one of them I was in a Kruger altar, and I was on the team with James Rink, and I believe it was Rochelle Staniforth that was with us. There was someone else that I don't remember who it was, but there were 4 of us, and we were going into a clone factory, clone cyborg factory, and we were supposed to be getting upgrades to our enhancements. And Penny pops into the altar, sees rows and rows and rows of cyborg bodies being turned in, humans being turned into cyborgs. And me being the kind of person I am and having the ethical compass that I do, I completely freaked, and my psi abilities went and I destroyed the place. That was
reasonable.
That was 2016, and there was smoke coming off the place, and there were photographs of Mars that showed where the place had exploded, and all of us, our consciousness returned to our bodies, and we had to have new avatars. And James there was really, really mad at me. James here said, well, I was supposed to get upgrades. I don't know what happened. And I'm like, well, I happened. So, yeah.
What do you think of the unending amount of, well, it's actually, it does end, but like amount of blockages people have to face in order to get their memories back for this concepts that the chess game for what manifests in the future with our species.
I don't think they ever intended for any of us to remember. I think that's what the blocks are about. They wanted to have complete immunity for the crimes they've committed, and we are the witnesses against them. Now, I know when you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube, you go into these places where people interact online. You'll come up with all these skeptics who say, well, where's your evidence? But if you're in a court of law, eyewitness testimony is evidence. How many eyewitnesses do we have now? You know, it takes 3 agreeing eyewitnesses to convict you of murder in a court of law.
Yeah, we need more natural justice tribunals because of all the kangaroo courts that are going in and perpetuating themselves right now with no oath and bond and this travesty of what is law, you know, in our belief systems and statutes, codes and regulations that don't apply to older statutes and are null and void if one does enough research. But you know, the amount of time people can't even find that, so they leave it to other people if they're more sovereignty away from
talking since 2016, and I've gotten more memory since then. But if you look at the basics of what I've been saying, I'm just expanding the same story I've been saying all along. I'm not denying any of it. I'm just filling in more details as I remember more. Now, a lot of the details have brought in nuance and complexities that I didn't see at first. So, you know, it's changed a little because of that, but the basic storyline is still the same. And that should tell people that this is my truth. I'm not making this up. And if I'm not making this up, neither are the other people that are telling basically the same story. And there's thousands of us now. It's not like 2 or 3 people stuck in a corner partying together. No, there are thousands of us in hundreds of different programs. This is huge. And for us to be told, well, you don't have a DD-214, so you don't matter. That's ridiculous. Most of us would never have a DD-214 because the military doesn't acknowledge that they took us, because they didn't, the CIA did. And the CIA sure isn't going to tell that they did it.
What do you think of the future of this coming out? Do you perceive how it might be able to get past these like barriers of skepticism and like abuse of ignorance that our society has built up? Of their, it's just so many like layers. It's kind of overwhelming, right? And you've been having to deal with this for a while, and it's probably like a big stress on you.
Well, there are some of the more positive races that are working towards first contact, official first contact. And I believe the date set is 2024. And if when that happens, they will expose the SSP. It's not like we're going away either. The Facebook group is still going strong, and we're at about 3,300.
Yeah, can you tell us a little about the Facebook group so that people can know more about it and they join?
Actually, the Facebook group is designed to be a support group for people who are remembering having been part of it. And they want to be with other people with similar memories. It was never meant to be a place for research. It was never meant to be a place where a few people could harvest stories. It was meant to be a place where you could share your heart and have support. And because all of us, when we're first remembering, we need that. And those of us who founded it were not finding this anywhere else. We formed the group because we needed it. So the ones we have left are Tomas, Alvin, me, and a man who lives in Australia that I can't name because he's a police officer and he would lose his job. So yes, I do respect that there are consequences to people knowing who you are. So we originally had 12 admins from a Facebook chat room, and we created this because we were going to MK Ultra groups and being called demonic. We were going to support groups for Montauk people and told they were only boys. And well, I know my generation, we were girls too, and told it was started in the 80s, and I knew it started in the 50s. So, you know, we're
under different names, and then it keeps like,
yeah.
Because I keep seeing that too. Is like, and people want like the names. I can come out with the names and like read into it, but they honestly change, especially when they become public enough. Like,
Oh yeah, they change the names because it's supposed to be secret, and you're not supposed to know where it is. Well, it was at Montauk in New York to start off with, and then it moved to Indiana. But there have been at least 4 different names for it in the meantime. But yeah. And I understand that there's still a group using the one at Montauk, New York, underground. So this never goes away. It never stops. You're never free of them. And that's what there was a woman I've been counseling. I'm not going to tell you who she is or what her thing was, but we were on where we were talking face to face, like on Skype, and she got absolutely hysterical. People don't understand. We can't leave. We can't stop. We can never get away from this. They think it's all in the past, and it's not. It's every day. And she's right. That's what it is. Even if you're not being taken every day, you're bilocated. And I mean, they took me how many altars last year? And those are all bilocated right now. So my personal chi is split with all those altars. And you've been watching me the last year. From the time they took me, I was in pernicious anemia. I died in February and was sent back. The CIA got mad at me in June and broke my shoulder. I had reconstruction surgery October 15th, and this is December 5th, and I'm finally getting to where I can shower by myself most of the time. And it's been a whole year because I'm bilocated in that many altars. And I've had wonderful people offer me help. You've been one of them. And I have no control over whether or not I'm taken. I appreciate very much all the help I've been given. Now, the idea of where we're going with this, we will eventually get so many people coming forward with partial memories that we can no longer be ignored. And they will either make us illegal, or they'll make fun of us, or they'll just keep ragging on us, but we're not going away, because what happened to us was real, it's ongoing, it doesn't go away, and so neither will we. And I personally take kind of comfort in the fact that this is a mass movement, and the people who went through it are taking it away from the leaders. There won't be a gatekeeper to control us. I mean, 2 years ago, we had a couple of UFO researchers decide they were gatekeepers. We may end up divorced from the UFO community, but we're still going to be here. Even if YouTube and Facebook kick us all off, I have a website, spaceportals.net. Oh, you should log in from a computer the first time. We have trouble with the software on phones. But it's a forum site for people who have experienced either UFO abductions or SSP. It's a place we can go without our data being sold to anybody, without a lot of spies. I'm one of the owners. My partner and I have been paying for it out of our own pockets or with donations. So we've been up for 2 years. And yeah, we were shut down for 5 months. We were on an Amazon server and they lost us. Point blank. And we got it back and we got it running again. So, you know, they may try to stop us, but that's not going to work. We're here. We're going to stay. And I'm stubborn.
Right. And to bring a bit of empowerment to those that are facing the same thing, there are many layers to this besides what we get back. What we get back in memory is usually what is our body is telling us is important to focus on, because it is what needs the most amount of attention. And so there is so much like an iceberg. What is shown and what is not shown can be seen as like this Schrodinger's cat of the alive or dead in the box. Well, it's more than just that. And in the quantum effect of who you are, and as you unite with yourself in your universe and bring all the pieces back together, and do that with the external as well, in uniting your family and who knows and understands you for who you are and accepts you, you build upon this system of protection and growth and development and confidence that it can overcome this forced slavery system, this constant parasite on her back in many different forms that the earth is turning into a new form because she sees value in every life involved, whether it be dark, light, or neutral, and the meaning of it to the rest of the universe. As to bring confidence to the people, besides what they see with the in the unseen with the SSP, there are many different reasons for why we're here. Besides, it being a school, a prison, the effect for resolution of all karma between all the wars of the multiverse, and bringing them all together as one species so that we can resolve our drama in multiple ways and experiences unfoldment in the dream of what is important and what matters. See yourself as everyone. See yourself as everything. There is no spoon. It is all you. And embrace your inner Neo, and break past the limitations of the Matrix and the systems that force to limit us and hold us within our own belief of disempowerment. Feel into the truth of your heart and what you feel as truth, and bring that forth and shine that deeply, and bring resolution to the aspects that are dark that you don't like or hate about the universe or yourself, and bring love to it. It will affect the rest of everything that's force and tangle with you greatly. It will change that little subtle chess move that will turn that person right or left, or get that person that was thinking of rebellion to make their final chess move, or this great thing that will bring a whole remedy to this faction or that, and be able to see that culminate into what eventually leads to the now of what matters, into we finally bridging that seen and the unseen together, and freeing our species. None of these states of being are permanent. Slavery for yourself is an interesting puzzle that we can find always a way out. There's always a way out. Even in the Matrix, there's always got to be a back door. Otherwise, the prison keeper, the person that made the prison, if they ever find themselves in their own prison, they're fucked. So they always make a back door. You can find it. It's kind of a law of the creation of these things.
I found a back door in February.
Oh, wonderful.
When I died in February from pernicious anemia, instead of going into anything else, I was like a fade death. And so I was completely conscious of what I was doing. And I went to the black hole that is at the point where the singularity of this universe was. And I went backwards through it. And it was just absolutely black for a long way. And then when it finally opened up, it was so bright a light that you could not see. It was just textures of white. And there were, well, I could hear the voices. They were male and female human type voices, but I couldn't see anything. And we talked about what I was doing here and what I thought would fix it. And they sent me back to do that. So that was just an incredible thing. They didn't fix the body. So I was still in pretty bad shape when I came back. And one of the races that's planning official first contact, one of their people, the Ponti, an individual named PETA, came and told me what I was doing wrong, why I was sick. and which medication I was taking and which one I should have been taking, and had me switch brands. And I got better. So ET intervention is sometimes a good thing.
That's beautiful. Yeah, there's as long as we have creativity and imagination and unfoldment into our spirit and our true self and our greater power of the source of the universe, we can break past all these limitation factors that seek to confine us and to hold back our power from changing the future. Because we have even um, I agree with like the whole thing with what you were saying with the butterfly effect. Like we barely have an effect most of the time, most people, and that's like a redundancy factor to keep the equation going as it is, and like the counter chess moves to any like change that we might have in like little subtle changes. But there can always be that, especially when you have deeper information and what is required to get the rest of the universe to agree to your switch. Oh well, the universe, the equation of the chess game you're in, whether it be Earth or Mars or whatever, of the hologram, and to empower people that are finding themselves in this situation, and they're finding themselves being taken all the time and not be able to control it. This is a focus. This is a good place to hone in on. Like, can I dream the dream to switch that to a place where a person reclaims their authority and be able to navigate all those places that are interacting with you in whatever motivation it is, to where they switch their perspective and they see you with value and not to fuck with list concepts.
You mentioned that before regarding me. I didn't know I was on one of those.
Yeah, and multiple beings that would look in you. Some are less aware for sure, but like that is changing all the time as you have big jumps in, like it's kind of like quantum jump, in shifts in your reality that affect the rest of the permeation of your existences. And so all this can be brought to change. So you see the seen and the unseen as that separation veil of what is set in stone, what is manifestable, what is less changeable, and what is more changeable. These programs, the faulty thing that they have for choosing the veil of secrecy is they are way more up to change in history than what manifests in what we see, which is their downfall. So ultimately, they will have to learn that in order to survive, they have to eventually bring it out of that secrecy. Otherwise, once enough beings target them in their perception for, oh, this is a bleeding wound that exists in this format, they will find a lot of difficulty, and they have been, and they don't understand quite why, because they gotta remain in secrecy while involving themselves in taking sovereignty from other beings. Whenever something like that happens in universal law fronts, they lose authority and they have to steal it from other beings. In order to keep these projects going, they have to steal a shit ton of authority from all these beings, such as yourself, of high spirit authority, and abuse them, and the whole Loosh thing, and adrenochrome, and the process of child sacrifice, and the innocence process of a child where it is more connected to source in a period of time versus when it gets all its weight of who it is on its shoulder, and it comes out into that challenging state of keeping their infinite. So taking
That's a
your
hard
power,
stage.
yeah, sorry. Yeah. So taking your power back, taking your energy that's been stolen, and tracking back the points where agreements were made and abuses are done, and finding what sticks and what stays, because a lot of the incursions can be uncreated. Doesn't mean all of them will. In fact, a lot of the people that are targeted by these programs will usually have still stuff going on because of the things that would exist in history otherwise that they want to bring back down by being a part of. So like parts of their higher self will agree to it. That also brings a bunch of lessons and things that will change the future and bravery factors to the soul that's being a part of that. And them changing it from the inside by being an anchor for their huge multidimensional self that can go all around and do all these things and like influence so forth. As one especially reclaims their hologram of who they are, they can go into, oh, all these things are entering my game. They're now agreeing to my stuff, and you can bring down whole organizations, or you can even change them out of dark into neutral and into eventual light of a better project than they would have been. And these are things that these brave individuals are doing this far, especially when they come to unity with organizations such as Penny has established, where they're able to talk and meet in the physical, so their multidimensional selves are linking up, all their assets and interactions and unity and soul families and soul groups, ancient off-world ancestors that have followed them in some way or have like bases all around but don't want to completely interfere with the human game because it's left up to us to be able to take our sovereignty back while them remaining in the unseen without taking away from that moment of us doing that work and learning the lesson that reverberates into our history and our future generations to remain and keep those lessons intact. Otherwise, it falls apart in the future if other beings, save us. So there's a lot going on in the unseen.
Yeah, this is something that we have to do ourselves.
And it's not like a lost cause, because like with every one of these dark stories that come out, there's also light, which are less heard about. And also, it kind of feels like we're bragging sometimes if we talk about them, so we usually don't. And then the ones that are more prevalent evidence to us is the ones that are emotionally destroying to us, to where it is like, oh, this isn't normal. This memory, this trauma, this emotion, this anxiety attack, this shutdown, this illness, and all the culmination of how that got into the hologram of what we are being as data that we carry, whether it's hidden behind an amnesia barrier or not, is still there and still affects us.
I have things that I'm just basically told not to talk about.
Me too.
Well,
And
hey,
I respect that.
So I go right up to the edge, and then I hear in my head screaming, "Don't go there! Don't go there! Stop!"
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And it'll literally, like, if you keep continuing, the things will manifest, the technology will shut down, the brain fuzz, all that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've had them actually stop my voice.
Yeah, me too.
You cannot say it. You can say all you want, but nobody's going to hear it because you have no voice.
So, yeah, I don't want to keep you for too long because this has been wonderful, and you've talked so well from your heart, and I really appreciate it. So for people that are having these experiences, please contact people such as Penny or Brave Soul in her Facebook group, and myself if you want to heal through these memories and get support for a community that is loving.
You're one of the admins. They can contact you to be added too.
So can you yes, come to us. We'll help you. We'll help you reclaim your sovereignty from a lot of these programs. You will be a key factor in changing them for the better, and everyone winning. Because this doesn't have to be a chess move of them or us. It doesn't have to be war. It's like we are all one, and they're just under the guise of illusion of being separate and ego, and it's a healing process for what they have too. And as they entered and forced into your game, whether it be like a small amount of incursion or a huge amount of incursion, it will give you a large degree of chess moves in what manifests to them. Do not lose hope. Do not lose your heart, your power, your love, who you are. You are the universe, and you can overcome anything that you've been given. Your higher self wouldn't give it to you if it wasn't confident that you could overcome it. And use it as a training that will completely shift everything. Can you name drop how to reach you?
Penny Bradley on Facebook, Space Portals with an S .net. And my YouTube is Pennywinkle B. I'm trying to get it changed to Nachtwaffen Pilot, but YouTube has not been cooperating so far.
Me neither. Okay. And what do you do on Space Portals?
I'm the front-end admin, the one that talks to everybody. That's also where I do my counseling, and I do give discounted rates for low-income people, and I'm charging now because people didn't take my time seriously. So
you can also join the Secret Space Program group on Facebook.
Well, it's by invitation only these days.
Yes.
Because we were getting a lot of people who thought it was a game. And so you need to know someone who's already in the group, so you can contact me. My profile pic has Free Penny Bradley on it. So when you do a Penny Bradley search, that'll be the one. And talk to me, tell me your story, and if you're an experiencer, I'll add you. So, or if you're a family member of an experiencer, because we know that no person is alone in the world, and I've added my partner and my youngest son and his wife to the group, because your family needs to know the realities too. So if you have a spouse who thinks you're nuts, you know, they may still think you're nuts afterwards, but at least they'll know you're not alone.
And then the family grows in the seen and unseen, the different dimensions of reality, and we all work together and in a collective, and to help to bring things to peace. And as beings come more into their power, they will see that in those layers as well. You can also contact me, and I'd be honored. With any experiences you're having, I can help you remember, as well as release, heal things and traumas and affecting your current state of being, so you can balance yourself and go more into your abilities, as well as learn how to do this stuff yourself. You can reach me at psionicleague.com. I'm also on Facebook, Sean Bond. Silver Cord Space Spiritual Science YouTube for more content like this, and I hope to be doing more interviews with this lovely soul here. And if you like this video, please share it. Share it with
share it widely.
Yes. and comment your questions and other things you'd like for future videos, and let us know if you like this subject matter, and we'll continue to do things like this. Anything else you wanted to say as we wrap things up?
No, you covered it pretty well.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you all so very much, and for all your bravery, and I love you all, and let us all come to a remedy for all this aspect of the universe as we become aware of every person's perspective and how to empower what we've been given. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.